All right, Grasshoppers, the most popular 30 minutes on the internet every week is when Allison Crew comes on my show and we talk about anything we want to talk about at all. How you doing, Allison? Good to see you again.
I'm doing great, Tom. How are you?
I'm good. So Allie has got ABC Medical Writing is her company. She's an epidemiologist, fantastic mother, wife. Again, I feel like I'm only necessary to say this, and I'm proud to say it, that your husband serves in the Navy. We're very proud of him. Two fantastic sons that are the kings of pull-ups in Virginia Beach, Virginia. So how are they doing?
They're doing great. Sam's getting stronger every day. He's actually the gym here. The community gym is amazing. $40 for a whole year. Wow. And he's going over and working out. So in addition to my hockey driving, which is 4 nights a week, I'm also going to the gym before hockey even. So I'm having to be extremely mobile and nimble with my work.
$40 a year for the membership?
Yes, for kids.
Wow.
Yep. I think up to be wrong about this. 16 might be the age limit for the $40 a year, and then it's like $110 for adults.
For the whole year?
Yes.
The gym the gym I was going to that I'm not going to any longer was $160 a month. For God's sakes, for weights. Yeah. Interesting. I'm moving to Virginia Beach. You got an extra room?
Yeah. Yes, if you're not, you're kind of a big person though, so right. I don't know.
I'll do chores around the house and everything. I'll clean the toaster when your son tries to make a grilled cheese in the toaster.
Yes, the toaster. Yep. Yeah. And we can go splitting wood and raking leaves and picking up pine cones and do all of that. That trash bagging that we talked about last week that I love.
You're the queen trash bagger. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yes, I was told I was the best bag lady in the land.
Yeah. So it was a real honor for me this weekend. Obviously, it was 9/11, the 20th anniversary. The Rangers asked me to go down to a breakfast at this firehouse. It was on 8th Avenue and I think 49th Street or something. They'd lost 13. The gentleman told me there was the second most firefighters lost from one station in Manhattan. And it was, as much as it was a sad event because of the loss, they did a fantastic job. Mm-hmm. Families were there, other dignitaries, a lot of military people were there, other firefighters, and John Starks and I. John Starks was a former New York Knicks popular player around here, and we were there. And it was, much as it was sad that you're talking about the loss, they were also really talking about how brave these guys were. They were talking about how. Mm-hmm. The one shift was just ending and the guys could have gone home, but they didn't go home. They went down. So, and again, they're up on 48th Street. So that's Midtown, and they went all the way downtown. And again, some of these guys didn't have to go. So it was really an honor to be part of it.
Them like running through the tunnel, like they were stuck in traffic and they had to actually run with all their gear on through the tunnel. And there was another picture. It might've been a different engine company, but picture of the truck on its way.
Yeah. There's a lot of them on different stations, and we were talking about like the bravery to think to yourself. Mm-hmm. So most people are running away from the buildings, right? And rightfully so. Where these guys, they're running up knowing full well. I mean, I guess they didn't know for sure what was going to happen, but it's certainly not a safe place to be. And they're running towards it to get there and volunteering to go. Again, this group of guys that could have gone home and been safe with their families. So it was a real honor to be part of that. And good day. But it was, I don't know if I call it strange, weird. So the night before we'd gone out to dinner and everybody, pretty much everybody's got the masks on in restaurants and you can't go into a restaurant to be seated unless you have a card to show that you were vaccinated. But then when we were at the event, it was, and I'm fine with it, obviously, because I was one of them, but nobody's wearing masks. Nobody's even worried about it. We're all in a big crowd. It was just I guess it was all outdoors. So maybe that's the difference, but it was just, you hear people talking about that, how it seems to be different in different places, right? Certainly different in different parts of the country, how people are treating the pandemic still. So.
Yeah. So you're saying it was pretty strict there with the vaccine card and things like that.
Yes, you could not get in. You can't get into a restaurant now and sit indoors in New York City anymore if you don't have the vaccine card. And it seemed like everybody was the places we were at, they're all adhering to that. But the thing is, too, it's still nice weather and everybody's sitting outside still, so it's not a problem.
There's something I wanted to ask you about. A good friend of mine, Lucy McBride, who I mentioned every time, and I promise I will get her on with you. She and I were just having a great conversation about post-traumatic grief and recovery. And so how people emerge from a traumatic event. And I was just kind of curious if you have any perspective, having spoken to people at the event over the weekend and how they've navigated these years. How are they doing?
Well, pretty much the common theme was that it just never goes away. It's there every day, especially I think for the mothers and fathers of. No, I shouldn't say that. It's for the wives and kids that have lost their father or wife or mother or whatever it is. But that seems to be the common theme, that it just never goes away. And it really seems like there's both pride in the way how they were heroes and how they were fighting for other people and trying to save them. There's some outrage too, with the current things that have happened in Afghanistan recently. And the one big thing too is that after 9/11, this was worldwide. Well, I shouldn't say worldwide. Certainly here in the United States, I thought it was a real sense of unity, right? All the politics and everything had kind of gone aside. In fact, I remember there's one great picture where all the politicians down in Washington D.C. are all up in the stairs there together. Didn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat, and people are kind of mad and disgusted that has totally gone away now. That we're so divided in so many different ways. I think that's one of the big things we heard from the week.
Yes,
yeah.
It's interesting that you say it's always there. I guess that's a very realistic perspective. That they've had to figure out how to go forward while carrying that with them every day. Well, hi Barry, that's very nice of you.
Yeah, it is, right? I mean, I can't even imagine. Being a parent. I mean, I don't want to separate and have some loss be better or worse than others, but being a parent that's lost a son or a daughter, man, that's got to be, man. It's just not the way. It's not the way the world's supposed to work, right?
No, it's not. It's very difficult. And about what you were just saying regarding unity, it's interesting in my world where the scientists kind of talk to each other. And certainly in public health, you might think that many folks are very, very progressive. But it's interesting. In my community, at least, it seems like there's a lot of pushback against the politicization. I can't say that word, but people who would typically align with one side of the aisle or the other are pushing back against that bifurcation, that dichotomy quite a bit. And actually are standing from, a lot of people have lumped science and politics together, but I think those who are trying to practice science and are trying to help inform policy and trying to imbue some balance are really kind of seeing the flaws in thinking in a very polarized way, because you can't get to a balanced policy that appreciates that people have different risks that they carry with them. Kind of like your survivors are carrying different types of grief and are coping in different ways. There are people who are going through the pandemic and experiencing it in very different ways. And it's really incumbent on us to figure out how to create policy that thinks broadly about the human experience and doesn't try to shove people into, one policy or another, whether you're talking about masks or vaccines or workplaces or schools or first responders or it's really unfortunate. I listened to some incredible people talk at length on podcasts because it's a lot easier for them to get their complex thoughts across in that venue than it is in Twitter or in some other area. And they're just lovely, lovely scientists out there who are much better than me at articulating all of these things and giving great examples. So I'm just going to throw one name out there. This person, Steph Baral, is actually in Senegal right now working, and he is just an incredible thinker. And if you find him talking on any podcast, pick it up, listen to it while you're driving. Steph Baral, Baral.
Good. What do it's funny you talk about the unity across the country. So many people, I'm sure you talk to and I talk to, they're sick and tired of the lack of unity. They're sick and tired of the polarization, as you called it there before. But it just doesn't seem like it gets to the politicians. And I'm not talking one side or the other. It's across the board. It's like they're not paying attention to how people are feeling out there, right? Do you think that they understand that you don't care?
I think that it's an unfortunate byproduct of the media, because to be picked up by the media and to have your voice carry, it's kind of like, I don't know, there were people in high school who stood out, right? And there's people in life who stand out, and they're not always the most, reasoned and nuanced and gray zone living person. They tend to be, very vocal and very opinionated, and those voices get amplified. And unfortunately, I think that doesn't reflect probably 90% of Americans. Yeah. The people that I bump into in the street are just lovely people. And even if they have a different viewpoint, I stopped and talked to a painting crew. I might have told you this about vaccines. I was just like, hey, I want to know what you think. I just happen to be an epidemiologist, and I practice street epi. I talk to real people.
Did you really? I mean, this is a good way. You just walked up to a group of strangers that were painting and started asking them about the pandemic.
Yes, they were taking a break by their truck, and I just, I pounced upon them. They were hapless victims of my street epidemiology. And because I really like to know what real people think. And I said, I'm specifically looking for people who are not interested in getting vaccines. And they were like, really? Well, you found a good crew. I said, well, that's fabulous. Let's have a chat. I am so excited to hear what you really think. And it was wonderful. Wonderful. Right. We had a great conversation. They did most of the talking. I did most of the listening. And I said, here's some food for thought, just some things that I thought about and I was worried about. And here's how I came to my decisions. And I just wanted you to know I care about you and I care about what you think. And I'm sorry if, all this public health, monstrosity, this machine is not reaching you where you are. And I just want you to know I care. And you'll see me out running again. And you just grab me because it's hot and I can use a break.
So after you left, what do you think they were saying? Like, wow, what really? Nobody else does that.
They're probably saying what my voice saying, Mom, you're such a freak. You just talk to strangers. People don't do that.
Well, you know what? And that's a great point, though. I think we've lost that. It's important to talk to strangers. I find for me, like if I get on a plane, wherever I'm in, out for my walks in the morning, I start talking to people. I've met people like as personal friends, business associates, I think that's when people say, you shouldn't talk to strangers. I mean, listen, I think women need to be careful when they do it, definitely. But, if you're in the right setting, well, you know what I mean? I don't mean that bad.
I'm only laughing because guess what I figure? I figure I can outrun most people who would want to do me harm.
Well, that's true. Yeah. You probably could. But yeah, I agree. Like my experience is, I love talking to everybody. I meet so many great people out there. Yeah, it's fantastic. So, okay, with the numbers with the vaccine, do you think there's a lot of? I guess the government will know how many vaccines have actually been given, right? So they have all that data. So there's no way that people are lying and saying they got it and didn't get it, right? Okay.
Well, that can still happen, but they will have some idea of how many doses went out, and is it reasonable to think we have X percent vaccinated and fully vaccinated? So they'll have estimates, right. But I have a general feeling that I don't like coercing people into getting vaccinated through mandates, and so I'm just going to put that right out there. That's my bias. Is I grew up in a school that had a lot of rules. And I was okay existing in that construct, but as an adult, a thinking adult now, and finding that Americans on the street are thinking adults, right. And they have real reasons for making their choices. I think that it may take longer to convince people to get one dose, but that is the work that needs to be done. And we need to respect people for their opinions, and we need to do that hard work of talking about it, because guess what? They may have a concern that we've not fully addressed yet, like what is the role of natural immunity and vaccination? Well, guess what? That's a great question, and it's on us to figure out how to communicate that to people. So right. I think mandates are premature, in my opinion. They do serve a role in some cases, and I just want to throw that out there. So from a public health, population health perspective, keeping disease down and protecting kids and protecting people who have less access to healthcare is important. It's a great safety net, and it means that for kids going into kindergarten, generally speaking, it's going to ensure that even if you've managed to forget or fall off schedule or didn't have a doctor or you didn't have insurance, your child is at least going to be protected against the most deadly childhood illnesses, because you simply can't start school without it. So the safety net's good, but I think we need to be careful with mandates.
I agree with the mandates, like with this one specifically, with this pandemic. I just feel like a lot of people that aren't getting the vaccines are saying, okay, let me get this straight. They told us the air was clear around ground zero after 9/11. They told us there's weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Look at the way they handled Afghanistan. We're supposed to trust these people. It's not that they really even know whether the vaccine is safe or not. It's just they're saying, I'm not trusting these people. They tell me to do it. I'm not going to do it. It's just, that's the way they feel about.
Right. And I respect that. I tend to be one of those people where if you tell me, straight up, this happened to me in Japan. I was told when you move to Japan and you live on base in Yokosuka, you have to have Facebook. You cannot function without Facebook. Well, I didn't have Facebook.
Right.
And as soon as you tell me that I have to have it and I can't function without it, guess what I want to do? Have an amazing time without Facebook.
I agree 100%. Yeah. Especially when it's coming from people that, You're not supposed to be telling me what to do. You're not elected to tell me what to do. Yeah, I agree.
So I represent that group of America that you just don't tell what to do.
Yeah, and I think that's the way our country is made to be. It's like it's for the people. It's not for the government to tell us what to do. Where are we at in numbers now? Then across the country, what's the percentage of people that have gotten vaccinated?
Well, I think you need to break it down by first dose and second dose. And I think I heard this morning close to 70%, maybe a little higher first dose.
First dose.
And yes, and then it obviously drops off as you go down lower in age. I'm most concerned, the thing that I'm paying most attention to, because COVID is such an age-based illness when it comes to risk. The older you are, the more risky it is. So I'm most concerned about low vaccination rates in older age groups, and we've pretty much gotten that covered. Most of the older folks are getting vaccinated, and we're seeing reduced numbers of hospitalizations in them. But the next group that I worry about is younger parents, like the 20 to 50-year-olds who might have kids at home. And if they're not getting a first dose, they're not getting a second dose, not only are they putting their own health at risk, but they are bringing COVID home into the household, and the kids are getting it. And we just saw in a study by the CDC that there is a real difference in hospitalization rates, numbers of kids going to the hospital between the highest vaccinated states and the lowest vaccinated states. So if you live in a state with less than 40% vaccination, then your odds of a child having to go to the hospital are 4 times higher than in a state with highly vaccinated population. So community immunity really does matter. And adults, in my opinion, the reason I talk to the painters, there's really no reason to think twice about 1 dose. 2 doses, I'll give you that, especially if you've had COVID before, and with the Delta surge, more people are in that situation. But 1 dose really gives you that immediate antibody protection. It will wane, but you also trigger T cells, which I know you love, Tom.
My T cells, yeah.
T cells are really important for serious disease.
Okay, 2 things: herd immunity, and scientifically speaking, which you are, we know for sure that these vaccines are safe. That's a question.
I think that we know more about these vaccines than any vaccine ever introduced in history. And so every vaccine, every intervention, medical intervention whatsoever has some risk, always does. There is no intervention that's without risk, and doing nothing also carries risk. So I think it's important to remember that. I had a medical procedure, and if I had continued trying to deal with life as I was existing in it, there was some risk, and that's what finally pushed me over into having the procedure, even though the procedure also had risk. So I think it's important to remember that. For me, as a mother, as a scientist, I think evaluating risks and comparing them and figuring out which one is bigger and most likely for me helps me make a choice. And so for me personally, I decided my younger son, 1 dose of vaccine, because he was going to be in travel hockey with lots of exposure, going back to school, hanging out with friends. I didn't really want to be worried about serious disease for him and a hospital trip for him. So I decided 1 dose was good. The second dose I decided to hold off on because that heart inflammation concern that we're hearing about, myocarditis, almost all the risk is loaded in that second dose. And so if you stick with 1 dose, you get like that T cell protection I told you, you get antibodies, you give the body a heads up, hey, this is what you're looking for. But I don't know that the data is good for a second dose for boys in particular. And as I was mentioning backstage to you before we went on, the UK just decided that they actually looked at the data and they appraised it similarly. They said, almost all the benefit is in that first dose, almost all the risk is in that second dose. We're going to recommend 1 shot for kids 12 to 15 years old. If you're high risk, you're already eligible, 16 and 17-year-olds for getting 2 doses. So they've really threaded the needle in respect for the unique individual risks that each person has. So. And they let the interesting thing is they also let parents have the discretion. And if the child and the parent disagree, the child gets to make the final call about the vaccine. It was just a very child-centered policy development process. I am so impressed with the UK.
I was listening to the radio this morning. I didn't actually see the tweet, but there's some singer, I think it was Nicki Minaj. She was tweeted saying that she had a cousin from Trinidad who, I can't remember how it was engaged. He went and got the vaccine, and he became impotent And I'm not laughing about this. It just seemed, I don't know how true it was, because she's an anti-vaxxer, I guess, Nikki. And I hope I've got the right artist. Maybe it's not her, but whoever the artist was is an anti-vaxxer. So she was trying to paint the picture that her cousin became impotent and his fiance left him because he became impotent. So they were.
I think I did hear about that. I don't know anything about that case. I don't know how you would evaluate impotence that quickly. But I guess a sperm count or something. But I let me just say this: I know nothing about the case, and I will say again that this vaccine, because there are millions and millions of people vaccinated, and we do have some safety signal databases that we can look at, we really do understand the risks associated with this vaccine, and it really dramatically reduces your risk of hospitalization.
Right. Let me see here. Our buddy Tim. He seems to not. He's sharing. I'm on immunotherapy to treat cancer. The brakes have been fully released off my T cells so much so it turned off my melania and turned on my hair white. I have better meds with. Well, that's some of your words there, Ali.
Yes, Tim, I can't remember exactly. I looked into your condition and I sent some information to Tom. I hope he forwarded it on to you. Yeah. I'm really glad to hear your update.
Job. He's a battler too. I get the sense he's a battler. I like that. That's good. That's good. All right. We touched on before. I want to mention herd immunity. Is that the correct term? Mm-hmm. So what is there has to have a certain percentage of people that have gotten the vaccine for it. And if that, so let's say the number is 70%, which I've heard, that means then if only 70% get vaccinated, that's enough to do the job that it's supposed to do?
Well, it really depends on how infectious the virus is. So the more infectious virus, you need more immunity in the community to keep it from spreading. So I think that makes intuitive sense. So the better the virus is at jumping from person to person, the more protection and shields up that you need. So this Delta variant looks like it's twice as infectious as the previous Alpha one. And so they're raising up, the estimation for the immunity that we need. I've heard 80, 90, I would shoot for 90. But I think you also need to consider people who have natural immunity and add that to vaccine-induced immunity. And I am not seeing good breakdowns on just how much we have if we actually count natural immunity as well. The big challenge with natural immunity is not everybody gets the same kind of disease. I mean, if you walk into a room and you're exposed to a tiny bit of COVID and you get a little bit of asymptomatic infection, is that enough for it to bounce off you and not infect you later or cause you to spread it? So there's tremendous variation in infection levels and immune response from person to person. And so that's why people like a vaccine, because you know what dose you're giving to people. You know that you're giving, 30 micrograms or 100 micrograms, and we expect this antibody response in relation to that dose.
Right. There was a specific topic you wanted to touch on today. Did we get to it?
We did. We talked about the UK and how they were looking at risk specifically for those kids. And the BBC article yesterday, if anybody wants to check out BBC News, they did a very nice job with the graphics and discussed how it can be done. There's also BMJ, if anybody else is interested in hearing their discussion about children and COVID and vaccines and ethics and evidence. A fabulous lecture if you've got 2 hours and you're really interested in a child-based perspective. It's phenomenal.
Good. Excellent. Did I hear you say last week that there's another new variant on its way?
There's always new variants on their way. Yeah, I don't think we talked about that last week, but when you have an unvaccinated group of folks and you have a lot of opportunity for the virus to replicate, it's going to replicate, it's going to experiment with different things. But the cool thing that I like to focus on is what is your own body doing in response to that? So you get to see the spike protein when you're vaccinated, and then your B cells actually take a look at that, and over time, the B cells create what the scientists are calling, in layman's terms, a library of options. And so they kind of anticipate how the variants would develop, what kinds of mutations might happen, and how that would impact the shape of the spike protein. And your body actually makes a bunch of options in your germinal centers. These are in the lymph nodes under your arms. And so you get a bunch of options that are just kind of sitting there. And the next variant, when it comes into your body, this is in response to either vaccine-induced immunity or natural immunity. Your B cells have all these little options sitting on the table, and they compare the fit between the next variant and the options that are there. And only the ones that fit well burst out and proliferate and go to defend you. So they have a bunch of low level numbers of options, and then the actual fit triggers the replication and proliferation in your bloodstream for those. They go to battle.
I love the way you described that. That was fantastic the way you described that. Seriously.
Might have been too many.
No, it's good. No, it was good. It was excellent.
I just think your body is so smart. Like, it's not going to make a whole bunch of options and load up your bloodstream with all these options at high levels. They're going to make a bunch of, like, in your pantry, Tom, you have turmeric and you have other interesting things in your pantry, right? You've got other options. And you're like, so I wonder what smoothie I'm going to make and how much I should dump of my avocado or my turmeric. Well, that's what your B cells do. They go and like, I think I need this today. And then they just dump a bunch of it into your bloodstream because it fits that variant.
That's fantastic. That's exactly what happens. See, that's the way I've learned now to look at food. Like, okay, I want it to taste good too, but I want to get
I don't care about taste because I don't have that back yet.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I want, I've gotten to the point now. So I want to know what's this food going to do for me? I'm going to try to make it taste good, but so I'll have that smoothie. So when I break my fast after the show, we'll have the smoothie. I have the shot of ginger and turmeric. And the smoothie now, the problem with the smoothie for me is I'm learning all these new foods. So the smoothie becomes this monstrosity. It takes me like 15 minutes to make because I put sea moss in there and vodka and all that stuff. It's all good stuff, but it is funny. Yeah.
Hey, tell me what you have, because I have a bad habit of like breaking blenders. I expect a lot of them, and I thought it was a decent one.
It's cracking all the time. Yeah, I thought it was just me. When I got a blender, I got the Ninja. Did I get the Ninja blender? So, and I first got it, it was like a year and a half ago. It cracked right away. Now I was putting in my frozen avocado and frozen bananas, so they were like rocks. So I think it was. But I called the guy up he's up in Canada someplace, and he says, "Well, that shouldn't break." So he sent me a new one. So now I've gone through two of them already. They both have cracked. So I'm going to call him again and get another. See what happens.
Well, you're putting a frozen avocado with the pit in. Too. Yeah. Everything goes in.
Not the pit. No, it's a half. I pitted it, cut it in half, so it's half avocado, but it's frozen. No, I have
fine, Tom.
I think it should be, but I've started now to put it in the microwave just a little bit to thaw it out a little bit, so it's not banging around as much. But it does. There's some banging going on with it.
I think somebody needs to make a blender that you and I, we should test it, because I like to freeze the bananas. I like the texture of the frozen banana a lot. Yeah. And it's got to be able to handle it. I'm sorry.
Well, they have the stainless steel ones. I've seen them at Costco. I think I'm going, but they're more expensive, obviously. But I'm thinking of going to the stainless
steel. I don't like expensive.
I know, I'm the same way too. Especially if they're going to keep giving me a free one if I keep cracking. Well, the thing is, I don't know how you do it. Mine crack, but I keep using it. It's still fine. It's not going. No, nothing's leaking out of it.
You have like it duct taped?
No, it hasn't been duct taped. No, duct tape my blender. That would be funny. I'd have to take a picture of that one for sure. That was good. Hey, have you ever heard of a food called a Piccadilly?
No, I've been to Piccadilly Square, but no, what is this thing?
So I made my Sunday meal and I looked it up, and it's a version of a Piccadilly. I guess so I made ground turkey, garlic, onion, mushrooms, chili powder, crushed tomatoes, and I put some potatoes in there. I put baby potatoes in, cut them in half, put them in the air fryer, and threw them in. And I looked it up. It's a version of a Piccadilly. So that's pretty proud of myself.
Wow, that sounds good. I'm interested in that. We'll have to check that out. Yeah, I think I would like to do more smoothies. I made one for breakfast for the boys, and that's just really easy to start eating at home and then take in the car if you need to.
Yeah, and they're really, I mean, like you said, you can really control what you put in there, put some healthy food in there, and you can control your calories, your fat, all that kind of stuff. It's pretty good too.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But my family really busts my chops about what I put in smoothies and the color that they turn out. They think I put some, I'm rather unregulated. So I have to, my smoothies, I will probably even have to have my own machine, because certain individuals in my house like to give me so much grief. They wouldn't want their smoothies contaminated with my, ginger peanut butter smoothie.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it is true. I've got the matcha's green, the spinach is green, the avocado's green, and I've got black. I've got chocolate protein powder, chocolate peptide, all this kinds of stuff, collagen. So yeah, it's the green and the brown together comes out. It doesn't look that good. Tasty though. I mean, like people ask sometimes, we'll put an avocado in a smoothie, but it's good. Ooh.
Yeah, I bet that's good. I have this interesting green powder that I got in Japan, which I really love. They told me it's basically like salad in a bowl. And so if you get one of these just little plastic water bottles and you dump the powder in there, shake it up, you've got really great, green salad water to go. But the funny thing is it looks like algae. It looks horrendous. But I kind of, the added benefit there is no one will drink my water. Like no one's going to pick that up and drink it. I left it once on the curb in my neighborhood in Japan on base, and I forgot my, precious green water. I went back, it was still there.
Nobody wanted to touch it.
Because who would take it?
Well, it's the same thing with sea moss. Now, sea moss has really got some tremendous health benefits, but if you went to taste it on its own, it's not that it's a bad taste. I think it's more of a texture thing. It's like you kind of gag on it a little bit, but you put it in a smoothie, you don't know it's there. Good for you too. So, yeah.
That's good to know. So it goes right down in the smoothie.
Yeah, you don't taste it all. Yeah. Oh, I'm really proud of myself. I've got my hummus down now too, where it's just I can control the taste on it, a little bit more lemon, a little less lemon. Oh, really happy with my hummus.
Wow.
Yes.
We got to figure out when we're getting up to Connecticut. Hey, so you should open Tom's Smoothie Bar or get like a trailer and,
Well, here's what we're going to do. I'm glad you reminded me of that. So we've got our Alzheimer's Walk coming up October 3rd.
That's right.
We're really not where we want to be right now on fundraising. So we're going to up the ante a little bit here. So we're going to have, as a special incentive, the person that puts in the most money and the person who I'll randomly select out of all the people that put money in and it comes to the march. Both of those people will come to my place. I'll cook a dinner on a Sunday.
Wow.
So that's a prize, yes. So we bring the family, bring whatever. But again, so two categories. One person, the person that puts in the most money, and the person who I'm going to randomly draw out of a hat from all the names that people put money in. They both get to come, and all at the same time. We'll have a big feast on a Sunday. We'll film it all and everything. So
that's really nice. That's so great.
Yeah, and it's going to be
wonderful.
Well, again, like I told you, my father, when he passed away, he had dementia, so it's near and dear to my heart. But it's a great cause too. It's one of those diseases. I'm sure that you dealt with it, but it's probably harder on the loved ones than it is even the person that has the COVID. So again, it's October 3rd. You can go to on my Facebook page. There's a link there that you can scan the QR code.
Write it down.
Right. You can scan the QR code. It'll take you to the Team Grasshoppers, which is our team, and it'll be a blast. So we'll have a lot of fun at the event too. It's going to be a great cause, raise some money, but a lot of fun too. So,
can I mention somebody else too? That young hockey player I told you about.
Yes, I didn't ever get a hold of
Academy, I think.
Yeah.
Jake Tebow.
Yes.
He is. So he was in an accident about a week ago, and fractured his spine, and he's struggling to walk. Right now, they're saying they're not sure if he'll be able to walk, and so I've been trying to follow his story and see how he's doing. And I donated to his cause because they're obviously going to have to do some home renovations as he goes through physical therapy and possibly regains his ability to walk. It'll just be really fascinating to see what they're able to do to get those nerves to reconnect and refire. Right. But he's in his hospital bed lifting weights.
Oh, is he really? That's cool. And they've got a GoFundMe page set up, right, to donate to that cause?
They do. They do. Really seems like a really great kid. Not the biggest hockey player on the team, but what I really liked reading about him is that he worked on a farm for summer jobs, and his character just shines through. Apparently, he was never the first in line to go get food. He always made sure that his teammates went in front of him, and it just really seems like a class act. So, and he's keeping that fighting spirit from his hospital bed. So, just what a wonderful guy, and just. Grasshoppers, keep him in your thoughts and prayers, and check out his story and give him some thumbs up. He's on Instagram, and he says he's really energized by all of the text messages that he's getting, hundreds every morning, encouraging him.
That's fantastic. Good job by you bringing that up. Good job. All right, everybody. Good show. We'll see everybody next week. Allie, you're the best. Yeah.
Awesome.
You're the best.
Take care, everybody.
You're the best epidemiologist I know. Seriously.
I might be the only one.
Still the best, though. All right. See you next week. Doctor.
Okay.